Good morning, everybody. So I got my buddy Felix dropping his 2.5 RS off. He just got it in the shop and pulled in. We're gonna rip the intake plenum off because he's got a crossover tube leak right on top of the block. There are a couple O-rings that are on there. One of them on the back side is leaking down the side of the block. So we're gonna do that, and then I'm gonna do spark plugs and intake manifold gaskets and valve cover gaskets, and he's got a coolant leak on one of the hoses that goes to the radiator too as well. So I'm gonna take care of that, and just to pretty much basic get rid of the coolant leaks and then do a little tune up on her. And yeah, this is just his little winter car that he drives around. I love these little Subarus. I used to rock a 2.5 RS just like this. But yeah, so this is the car, and we're gonna get it in and get it all done. So just remember, it's a 2.5 RS non-turbo. He's already got the vented and slotted rotors on there. Not a bad little 2.5 RS. He's a painter, so he's gonna fix up there. And this, like I said, this is his winter car. He's got BC coilovers on here. Just using it for mainly the winter time. Probably clean up that little terminal there too for him. Get it all clean. The corrosion gets pretty bad over here during the winter time. Pretty clean little cruiser though. Like I said, most of the cars this time of year here in February are pretty dirty, but yeah, so I'm gonna get started on that, on those new parts, and show you guys pulling the intake plenum off and all that stuff. But got all the parts right here. He went to the store and brought them for me, so I'm just gonna get them slapped in. So we got to pull the alternator off. We'll pull the AC pump off. I'm going to drain the coolant out. Pull the intake and mass airflow, the MAF sensor out. The box off. Undo the battery, of course. And power steering pump's going to come off. And just tip it over to the side so you don't have to drain any of that stuff. And we'll be down to the bare block, but I'll give you guys a little bit of an update here in about 30 minutes or so. So I got that coolant draining on the 2.5 RS for Felix. I got to replace this oil cooler line that goes to the radiator. It's got a pinhole in it, so it's leaking down. You can see it all wet right here, so we'll get that fixed for him. Looks like there might be a cam seal leak right there. Might have to open that timing cover and just take a peek and see how bad it's leaking or not. Because that's probably the main puddle that he's seeing besides this oil cooler hose right here. But yeah, we're gonna get your 2.5 RS back up and going good. We're gonna get that crossover tube fixed so we can get rid of that radiator leak. So we're gonna pull these two 12mm bolts here. Boom, boom. I'll pull this one off here. That's a flathead. I'll loosen the tensioner right here for the alternator belt. And then I'll also do the one for the AC compressor. That way I can get the belts up out of the way and pull the alternator up. I'll pull the three bolts, excuse me, for the power steering, and then I'll pull the bolts for the AC compressor, and we'll get that off. I'll start moving the harness out of the way, and the fuel line's got the battery disconnected. And we'll flop the power steering over here, like I said, and pull the AC compressor where the battery is going to be pulled out at, and we'll set it to the side. We'll undo the green connector there and the 12 under the alternator, and we'll get that harness up out of the way as well. I already got the wires for the spark plugs disconnected. I don't know if you can see them down there, but I got those disconnected already. And yeah, I'm gonna be pulling this intake plenum off. There is the coolant leak, and right there is the coolant leak. So we gotta take the intake plenum off and replace the O-rings that are under there, and I'm gonna clean up the block for our Felix and make it look nice. We're gonna pull this off. So there's a crossover tube, the old, looks like Felpro gaskets. We're gonna replace those. I'm gonna clean up the block for him and blow all this crap out of here. I'll tape off these ports so none of that crap gets in there. But yeah, so we're gonna remove the crossover tube that the coolant runs through to that hard line. 10mm bolt on each side. Pop that off, put new O-rings, clean it all off. I'm probably gonna run a little bit of silicone, not a big bead, nothing like that, and put it all back together for you. All right, so I'm pulling the last 10 mil out of the crossover tube, and then I'll show you guys what those O-rings look like under there, and basically replace those. And like I said, run a little bit of silicone and get it all cleaned up. You can see it was leaking the coolant all over. But yeah, here's your O-ring right here and right here. So we're gonna pop those out, get all this old coolant out of here. I'm gonna clean the whole block up for Felix and all this road grime and stuff like that. So I'll tape the ports off, take some air to it, clean the block off, just prep it and clean it up for him. While I'm here, clean off all this crap and get the new O-rings in the crossover tube, and then put the intake plenum back on. All right, got the intake plenum back on, got the brand new gaskets, cleaned up the block a little bit. Now I'm just gonna finish up cleaning the battery post, hooking up the radiator and alternator, and get it all back done in, and get it back to Felix. We got it all in and done. Now we're just bleeding the coolant system and he can pick it up.